Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some of the players that are going into new systems, whether that's a transfer quarterback or a new head coach or what have you. Definitely a lot of really interesting kind of dynamics throughout the season and who can break through and possibly be that Trevor Lawrence who comes in and immediately wins a national title. It'll be really interesting to watch all of that. But let's get into some Hinge players in the Big 12. There's a ton to break down here. We've done the SEC, we've done the Big 10. Now we're going to get into the Big 12, and there's a ton of guys to choose from for just about every single one of these teams, but I feel like I've narrowed it down pretty well here, and the guy I want to start with is Jordan Seaton. I think he might be the most important player for Colorado that is not named Shedeur Sanders. He is someone that absolutely has the most important job on the field, which is keeping that guy upright, and he absolutely needs to be incredible pretty much from the get-go for them to be really potent on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, starting at left tackle as a freshman is really tough. There's no two ways about that. Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks did it at LSU and Texas, respectively, and they did fine. They played some really good football throughout their freshman years, but there were moments where they had to face some more veteran guys, and it didn't look all that great. They definitely got beat a couple of times, and Jordan Seaton can let that happen. It's not necessarily he has to be totally lights out throughout the entire season, but he definitely does need a big time. He needs a big time season. There's no two ways about that. He needs to keep Shedeur Sanders upright, and if he can do that, this offense gets really dangerous. And frankly, I think this might be the biggest high school commit that Deion's gotten at Colorado. It's as big as anyone that I've seen, and then I think it's maybe the second biggest commit he's ever gotten behind Travis Hunter, because that was the one that really got everything rolling for him. But this is one that absolutely could have everything to do with the next chapter of his coaching career and becoming not only a coach at a big time university and kind of building up all of this hype, but being someone that delivers on a yearly basis and is one of the top coaches in the country. So this is the guy that frankly can unlock this offense. There's so many things in place for Colorado, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And if you have a left tackle that is really, really tough to beat, then Shedeur Sanders is going to be able to pick apart some really, really good defenses this upcoming year. But let's move on to Oklahoma State, and Alan Bowman, I think, is huge for this team. We talked about this yesterday a little bit with some of the turnover issues he's had in the past and how I think it might be a little bit of more of a trouble for him this upcoming season, but if he can fix that, then this is a very dangerous team, and this is a very dangerous player in particular, and they can absolutely win this conference. So I think they have a remarkably high floor with someone like Ollie Gordon and with some of the receivers and the offensive line that they have and the experience they have on defense. They're probably going to win at least 8-9 games. I feel pretty confident in that, but the ceiling is not too far from the floor. In terms of just what they can be, it all comes down to how good this guy can be. How good can Alan Bowman be, and can he open up this offense a little bit? Because if he can, spread the defenses out a little bit and make it tougher for them to key in on Ollie Gordon, this is going to be a really, really tough team to beat. Maybe even impossible to beat for some of these Big 12 teams, because if you can't key on Ollie Gordon, then he's going to tear you to pieces. So I think this is a guy that absolutely can be a really good player, but you look across with this conference with all the incredible quarterbacks in, I'm just not sure that he matches up with everyone else. But if he does hit that, jackpot, plays A-plus football, then this just might be your Big 12 champion. Another guy that holds so much in his hands is Jalen Daniels. He's someone that, frankly, I think can shake up the entirety of college football. I think that's how good this kid is, and the wide receivers he has from a year ago are all back. There's a ton of connection there. I think Kansas is a team that we've seen over the last couple of years. They go as far as that guy goes. If he is healthy, then they're going to play really good football, and they're going to be tough to deal with. If he is not healthy, then you can kind of key on the run and make it a little bit easier for your team to really dominate in some of these cases. So definitely will not be ideal. If he's on the field, they're a Big 12 contender. If he's off the field, they win 7 or 8 games. I feel pretty good about that. I think Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw give him a little bit of ability to spread out the ball a little bit more. They're going to want to key on the run for Kansas because that's where the big-time stars are. But this guy can spread the ball out. There's no two ways about that. And as long as he can, get into the QB run game a little bit, spread the ball out to a lot of these really talented receivers, I think this is going to be a really potent offense. But this guy is at the very center of it. And then someone who took the world by storm last year when he was playing just ridiculous football is Noah Fafita, and he absolutely is someone that, frankly, has the highest ceiling of all of these guys that I'm mentioning here. But I think he's someone that can totally open things up this upcoming season. He has one of the best wide receivers in the country with Tatori McMillan, and they have one of the best connections in the country. So definitely will have a very, very good duo there, but they're definitely going to be under a lot of tough situations. I think one of the big things in this conference that you'll find, and they kind of do this a little bit in the Pac-12, although to a different degree, they drop a lot of people in coverage, and they make it really tough, and you have to throw it into really, really tight windows. Noah Fifita's got to be able to do that if he wants to, win the Big 12 and do some of the things that Arizona absolutely has on the table. So I think he's someone that, we'll figure out, is it Jedd Fisch that made him so special, or is Noah Fifita just that guy? And I definitely lean a little bit more towards the latter, but at the end of the day, he could absolutely be the best quarterback in this conference this upcoming year and just ruin the fun for a lot of the contenders out there. So it'll be really interesting. We'll figure out pretty early on, because I think in week 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, they go to Kansas State and then play Utah. So they're up against it pretty early on, and if they can handle those 2 games, then they're off running, that's for sure. And then Iowa State, Jaden Higgins is someone that, frankly, I could have picked a number of people for Iowa State. There's no two ways about that. They have a ton of guys that need to come up huge, and Rocco Becht, their quarterback, being among them. But I think this guy's just an absolute difference maker. I think he's someone that is going to be pretty much impossible to guard for most of the corners in this conference, and it makes Iowa State one of those teams that you just got to watch a little bit closer. Him and Jalen Noel are two of the maybe the best duo of wide receivers in this entire conference, and no one's talking about them. And I think it's really, really interesting. I saw Josh Pate has Iowa State going to the conference title, although you'd be hard-pressed to make him not make that pick, but that's beside the point. I do think there's going to be really, really interesting to watch this guy play. I think he's an all Big 12 type guy, but he's fighting with guys like Tatori McMillan, like Jalen Noel, like Dorian Singer, like Travis Hunter, LaJohntay Wester. There's so many great receivers in this conference, but I would put this guy number 2 right behind Tatori McMillan, because he is out of this world good, and he's someone that, if Iowa State is going to make a run to a Big 12 title, he's going to do some special things and become a household name pretty much all across America this upcoming year. So that'll be awesome to watch. And then finally, I got Garrett Greene, someone who honestly is a little bit overlooked, although there are a lot of people singing his praises from time to time. I think he's someone that just kind of goes under the radar a little bit, especially with all of the different stuff going on in this conference with Colorado and a ton of teams coming in and all of the different things. There's not too much time to talk about West Virginia, but Garrett Greene is a very, very fun player. He's someone that walks onto the field every time like it is the last time he's going to walk onto a football field, and he plays that way. He plays really hard-nosed, kind of reminds me of a Baker Mayfield type guy, where he just plays with a little bit of anger that a lot of people don't, and it's really, really entertaining to watch. So absolutely love this kid. I think the run game is absolutely huge for him. He's got to be able to open up some of that passing lanes that he's really good at hitting if they're, open for him, if they're not dropping 8 in coverage every single time. And Jaheim White is a fantastic running back, so definitely will be able to open that up for him a little bit, and he also can run a little bit, so definitely not super worried about that part of the game. But it's going to be huge for him to take a step forward, because this is a team that really got a lot of people's attention last year, where there were a lot of people going into the season, myself included, that thought Neil Brown wouldn't make it through the season. He did, and they had a really, really good season on top of that. So it'll be really awesome to watch this team unfold, and they're one of those teams that you just got to keep your eyes open for. You just got to be watching out of the side of your eye and make sure that they're still where they are, because they're a very dangerous team. And frankly, I think they might just be able to get to Arlington based off this guy's stubbornness to lose. He absolutely is one of those guys that is going to do literally everything in his physical power to make sure that they win as many football games as possible. So he's someone that I absolutely love. I think his energy is just infectious, and I think he's someone that really fits what West Virginia is going to do. So I think when you look across this conference, there's so many incredible quarterbacks that are really, really cool to watch, like Shedeur Sanders, like Noah Fifita, like Avery Johnson. But this is a guy that just continues to get the job done and continues to get better every single year. And if he takes that another step forward, then West Virginia is not only a team that you have to worry about on one Saturday, they're a team you have to worry about the entire year, because you might just end up seeing them in Arlington. So there are a ton of players in the Big 12 that are going to be huge hinge players for this conference. But when I look up at the top, there's not as much worry, if I'm being totally honest. Kansas State and Utah, I think, are going to be really good products. And I think Avery Johnson and Cam Rising are going to play really good football. I think some of the other guys on that list are kind of finding themselves in a little bit of a gray area. And can they play elite football? Can they play good football? Are they going to play mediocre football? Will definitely be a huge topic of conversation. But at the end of the day, it'll be fascinating to watch this conference because there's so many players, there's so many teams that can totally shake this thing up on one Saturday. So absolutely love this conference, and we'll continue talking about it right now. We're going to get into hot takes for all the contenders. We did, I believe, 5 of them yesterday. We're going to do 6 more today because there are at least 11 teams that absolutely can make a run at this title this upcoming year. So we'll continue on with the Big 12 here, and then we'll get into some other hot takes for some contenders and other conferences as the week goes on. But we'll break that down right after this, so stick with us.